Hello, welcome to another Gran Turismo Sport Manufacturers Cup race. This time is Fuji Gr3, and due to some disconnects in the first 3 slots, I end up in split 2 for this one. So I'm on the back foot kind of to start with. Using the 150 marker board as my braking point, I actually slow down a little bit too much into the corner, but I get a fairly good exit, getting fairly early on the power. McLaren F1 is very good in a straight line, so sector 1's always going to be good. Again, I dropped my speed a little bit too much into that turn 3, now through turn 4. Tried to hit the double apex, tried to keep the speed up as much as possible, but keeping it tight on the inside. Again, tried to keep the speed up. I actually dropped another 2 miles an hour down on what I could have carried there, so little bits here and there I'm losing time, so hit the braking point, tried to overlay a little bit to steady the car, turn in a bit of a burst of power, upshift the gears, and now just trying to keep the rear in check, try not to spin the wheels up too much and be as early on the power as possible. Here I slide the rear, lose a little bit of time, and again I drop speed a bit more than I should do. But I actually hook up this final corner fairly well. I get really early on the power and I'm able to carry the speed all the way to the finish line. So this is actually a fairly good lap. It could have been so much better without the little mistakes here and there, and the slipstream would have been great. Okay, now it's just starting up in the race. Again, 11th position, but only a 10th behind 4th, so those little mistakes and no slipstream really cost me. But like I said, it was a really good lap and actually ended up being my fastest lap that I set from any practice session. But there's always that chance to improve. So coming to the first corner, I'm just wanting to take it easy. My goal here is to tyre save and fuel save as much as possible. I don't want to wreck the tyres because the McLaren F1 is not the best here on the tyre wear. So I need to save the front tyres. That means I'm going to suffer with the rear tyres by the end of the stint. So I just need to be very gentle on the throttle as much as possible and try to stay. My goal is just to stay in train as much as possible here. I don't want to make any silly moves. But I get a much better run than this McLaren 650 in front of me. I'm kind of in a position where I kind of have to go for the move because I'm already alongside going into the braking zone. Yeah, I'm still trying to take it easy. I don't want to mess up my tyres and just slot in behind the Porsche. There's a penalty up in front, so that's already another chance. I'm looking for maybe another position. Again, just trying to take it easy in this final sector. I think really I should have been maybe switching my fuel map down to map 2 through this final sector to help with the wheel spin. But I guess in the heat of the moment, it's not something I was really doing, and I hadn't really practiced it too much. but there's an accident behind, so that's kind of opened up a bit of free air, and now I can just try to focus on people up in front. So Mahata had his penalty, and I end up getting the position. So again, just trying to tuck in and just wanting to stay in the train. I just don't want to lose any time with fighting. But I kind of know that for a lot of this, the people around me probably will be a lot faster in race pace than I am. So yeah, I'm seeing on the radar at this point Mahata's all over my rear and he's looking like he's got to go for a dive. I'm expecting the move into this corner, and I stick to my line and I run a bit wide, just let him have the position and tuck him behind. But that just leaves me in a position where the people behind him now close the gap back up. It's the thing when you're in a bit of a train like this, especially when your car's not necessarily the best at handling, if you end up out of position, it kind of gets punished and you end up in a bit of a chain of just dropping back through the positions. So yeah, I didn't quite stay close enough to Mahata through the final sector, so I don't have the slipstream, and the Mercedes behind me has the slipstream. He pulls out a bit too early, but so my car was able to keep the gap in front, but with my tyre saving I actually lifted a bit earlier than I wanted to there. I kind of missed my mistake my braking point for the earlier one. I lifted off too soon and then I realised he'd got the position. So again, I'm just thinking, right, I'll tuck him behind, I'll just let him do some work, I can use this as a chance to save some fuel. Trying to be as gentle on the steering as I can through the long right-hander. So I want to save the front tyres as much as possible because, you know, the McLaren F1 has understeer for most races, so it's like saving the fronts becomes beneficial unless you absolutely kill the rears, then it becomes a bit of a problem there. So again, I'm actually struggling a little bit in comparison to the people around me in this final sector. I don't quite drop as far behind as I did on the previous lap, but now I have the Dodge behind me pushing forward. All these little fights are just costing me so much time. At this point I'm already lapping like a second down on my potential pace. Just, you know, all the little moves, having to get out of people's way and just not being able to push like I want to is costing everyone in this little group a load of time. So my goal at this point, my aim in practice was to be doing like 38.2 sort of times, 38.3, but lapping in the 39s. So the race is already kind of going slightly south at this point. I just want people to get on with it. I don't want to be fighting. So like the moment like a gap opens up, that's actually what I'm just waiting for. But you got the group in front fighting again, and Mahata's got another penalty. He's normally a very clean, smart racer, but in this race for some reason he was being way more aggressive than he normally is. It's kind of out of character for how he normally races. And at that point I missed a downshift, so I stayed in third when I should have been in second, so I lost a bit of time there. So again, Mahata takes his penalty, and I'm in a position where I'm going to end up in front by turn 1 again. lifting a bit, braking. I'm just in tyre saving mode. I want to keep the tyres alive as much as possible. Still setting blue sectors, but considering all the battling that's been going on, I kind of expect to be at this point. Battling up in front. Mahata goes for a lunge again. So I'm seeing him on the radar again. I'm just expecting him to go for the dive. So again, I just let him take the position. That's what I aim for, but he doesn't quite make the move, so we end up alongside. And he's not got the move done, so at this point it's like there's no point in me backing off because that's just losing me more time. So I still have the main racing line at this point, so I've got to keep the position, and just in a situation where we're losing loads of time because this battling is just unnecessary. Now with the group behind starting to fight each other, I've got a bit of a chance to try to pull a gap. So as soon as I see them both alongside each other, that's my chance that I know I can start pushing, because they're going to be fighting along each other. So I don't have the pressure from behind now, so it's like push forward, try to catch up to the car in front if I can. So at this point I've done a reasonable job of saving my tyres. But I'm still thinking about the fuel though. That's my only real issue. It's like I'm maybe not pushing as fast as I could have been, so I'm maybe over saving a little bit. Yeah, I'm sliding the rear a little bit too much in hindsight here. But for that corner I got slowed down and nice and early on the power. Again, slowed down, tried to get on the power as early as possible. And skipping forwards, position stayed pretty much the same. I actually opened the gap up a little bit and then lost it a bit in that final sector, but I was coming in the pits that lap anyway. In all my practice sessions, I'd normally been jumping to the soft tyre again at this point, because I'm going to be doing the 3-stop. But I just thought I want to try to get some clean air. I don't want to be in traffic. To be honest, if I'd switched to the soft, that would have been perfect right now. I would have had the clean air and I wouldn't have been in traffic. But I decided to go for the medium, thinking, oh yeah, everyone else will be on soft, I'll be able to just drop back behind them and then push. It didn't quite work out as I was hoping at that point in time. But yeah, on this medium tyre again, I can see him coming for the move. I can see him pull to the inside, so I just let him take place. Just tuck in behind. And yeah, most of my practice had been on the soft tyre, so I didn't really have a whole lot of medium tyre running, because I kind of figured out quite early that I just didn't have the pace on it. So a lot of the power cars do prefer to have the softer tyres. Okay, so sweeping into the pits, coming in for my second set of soft tyres. So now I'm hoping to have some clean air, and now I can run the soft tyre for 7 laps and hopefully make up any positions on people who are fighting. Have the Dodge just behind me. I think he's pitted, he's not long pitted himself, so he's on fairly fresh tyres, so if he's faster, then again I'll just let him go if he makes a move, which I can see him going for the move, so I just let him up the inside and tuck in behind. I have no intention of going for a move back on him here. You can see me short shifting and just sticking to my line, lifting. So he didn't really need to go that defensive, because like I said earlier a few times, I'm just wanting to keep up my times and not lose time in needless battles if I don't have to. So in these long races, you don't really need to battle until last 2 or 3 laps. If you're battling before that, you're wasting time and it's not smart racing. So in a 23 lap race, if you're fighting like crazy anytime before like 18, 19, yeah, you're just not racing smart. I honestly thought he might have been pitting then with him going so far over, but that's why I moved out to the slipstream. Yeah, take it a little bit too easy in some corners here. So I noticed I had the other McLaren F1 of Boo Boo Racing behind me, and more often than not he's generally faster than me in most combos, so I expected him, with him being behind and also on fresh tyres, that he'd catch up and probably make a move at some point. Come through this final sector, just running a little bit wide again and just struggling to get the front turned in, even with the rearward bias I'm running. Sliding the rear into this final corner and getting on the power still with the rear sliding, so I'm not necessarily treating the rears too well at that point. And Boo Boo behind me's got himself into the slipstream, so I actually expected him to go for the move into turn 1 here. So I actually leave space on the inside for him to make the move, but he didn't go for it, so I ended up running slightly wide for nothing there. Again, with him being so close, I had to switch back from my fuel to the radar, and then I ended up running a bit wide into this turn 3, now into turn 4. I can see him right in my rear, and again I just follow my usual line, let him go for the move, which you can expect most people to just make these dives at this point. So now I'm in the slipstream again, I can maybe think about saving a bit of fuel. If I can stay with him and save some fuel, then that's all good for me. So I managed to stick just in the slipstream at this point, and I short shift very low on the rev bar, just so I know I can, and then later in the gears I'll start gaining the speed back. Still lifting into the braking zones and just trying to be as easy as I can on the brakes. Braking about 70 to 80% if I can. But to be able to keep up I have to push myself really hard. Because generally a lot of the people like around me in this split are faster than what I can handle for the most part. So now I've fallen out of the slipstream, so my focus is starting to shift away from Boo Boo in front and more to Gr3 behind me, because he's been catching up, you know, gradually over the laps. So coming out of the pits here, I try to stay wide, but the Lamborghini there just outbrakes himself into the first turn, and I was lucky to not get a penalty at that point, I think. So the game is pretty harsh with those type of small contacts. I think we were both fairly lucky, to be honest. Yeah, now I've got the 650 behind me, closing right up on my tail. But this is the lap that I'm going to be pitting, so as long as I don't lose the position here, I'm fairly happy. I'm going to keep the position up until I jump into the pits. You can kind of see how nervous I am on the throttle, with the rears starting to go. I take this corner really tight because I don't want him lunging up the inside before I go into the pits, because I've had that before, people going up the inside and then not being able to pull away on the straight. So I take the tight line to make sure I can get in the pits, and I hit the wall on the entry. So because my fuel saving, I don't need to refuel as much as a lot of the people around me, so I'm going to gain back a couple of seconds. But I think generally that I probably could have pushed a bit harder and used a bit more of that fuel for more pace. At least I've got a nice bit of clear air now, so I can actually push and see what I can actually get on my own. Again, I'm trying to not use as much steering angle as possible, try to keep the steering angle down, and just being very gentle on the long right-hander. Just, I don't want my front right to die. Again, it saves the right left as well. Lifting into the braking zone again, nice and steady, just rolling into the corner. Yeah, I think, like I said earlier in the race, I think if I'd started shifting my fuel map down to 2, it might have actually helped me with the rears a lot, especially in the later stages of the stint. Because with this last stint I'm going to be running at 8 laps on the soft rather than 7. See the Audi, I believe, just going into the pits. Now Boo Boo's just coming out of the pits and only just getting out in front of me, so kind of shows with how far he was in front of me before I pit, and then the gap just closed up with the undercut and the amount of fuel I'd saved. So maybe if I had a little bit more pace, you know, my strategy might have worked out fairly well at this point, but again, I think I just ended up in a split that was slightly too fast for me. So I kind of know I'm not really close enough to hang on in the slipstream, so I've just got to keep doing what I've got to do, just focus on myself. Actually noticed that my line's actually very similar to Boo Boo's. He's just able to carry that little bit of extra speed through some of those slow corners in the final sector. But now just skipping forward to the last few laps. So Gr3 again is closed right upon my tail, so I opened the gap up with the undercut. And I closed the gap upon the Mercedes again, so three-way battle for 14th, but I'm starting to struggle on the rear tyres because I was pushing them too hard in the final sector through the stint, so I was getting a bit too much wheel spin on like corner exits, and I had a few like parts where I nearly had a curb glitch like spin on the exit of this corner. Gr3 actually touched me on the long double apex right-hander, and that's what gave him the penalty. Wasn't the contact into the braking zone. He was a very minor touch on my rear because he's able to carry more speed in that car than I can, so he touched the rear, he got the penalty, then he made the move, and that's when the penalty started showing up. So it's a bit unfortunate that, but I guess it's just a case of knowing the car that you're behind. See, a lot of people don't drive McLaren F1, so they kind of get caught out by it sometimes. It's like going into some of the longer high-speed corners. I just can't carry the same amount of speed as a lot of the other cars around me. Now coming into the last lap, this is basically defense mode activate. I'm not going to gain the position in front now. That move on the previous lap basically took that way, so this is just everything to keep this position. I'm being very cautious there. I was way too overcautious. I essentially just let them close up way too close. Going defensive, I run wide on the exit of the right-hander, just slow down on the apex here, run out wide, make sure I've got the inside for the braking zone of the hairpin. So no one's going up the inside here. I've got this, I can cover off the next corner. But here, running over the curb almost spins me, and the rear just goes into this corner. Luckily I was far enough in front that there was no contact behind, because I was out of control at that point. But again, I keep the inside line to this corner. Seeing I've opened up that bit of a gap, I just hold this last corner as tight as I can. And I get the final place there with the Nissan slowing down. So overall it wasn't the greatest race, but when I was in clean air I was actually running at a fast pace compared to what I've been doing in practice, so I was kind of on it, but the first stint was a mess, and my change in strategy didn't really work with the medium for the second stint. I mean, I would have gone again in the final slot, but with how that works, I'd probably end up in top split, and I wouldn't have gone any better.